Hello there, everyone. Alright, so, yeah, I honestly can't remember what I was doing last time. I'm going to be honest with you all. We're at other bridges, so I'm assuming that means safe house. And yeah, I know I've got to do a lot of reading this part. I did procrastinate a bit between recording sessions. I don't even know what day I did the last one, but I know it's been several days since I actually picked this up. So I need to get back in the habit. Plus, I want to actually do the main mission that I need to do. So Sam's asking for a shower. I'm just going to be a little bit naughty and just neglect him. So, as we said last time, there's quite a lot of mail, quite a bit of data to go through here. Thankfully, not as much data because that is the worst. Hideo, please get the voice actors in and let them record the data, just like little, I don't know, cassette tapes or something of that ilk. Just please don't let YouTubers like us have to read it, even though I don't think you're with top of the priority list. All right, so mail. Let's get through the mail. Let's go through the data. If there is a mission at the end of this, I will put it in the title. If there isn't, then it's just going to be called a lot of reading. All right, so I'm going to go through the bottom and move up. Just for a simple reason, we've got a lot to go through and I don't want to not know what I've read and what I haven't. So, where are we? Here we go. Skipped a few. The geologist. So, Chiral Nightmares. 5 stars, by the way. Thanks to you, the chiral contamination's all cleared up. Nasty symptoms, though. Dizziness, headaches, insomnia. At first I was worried it was all down to my isolation in this shelter and the intense focus on my research for the past year. But it got real bad when the nightmares started. I saw the end of the world, a portal to the beach opening, and BTs pouring through by the thousands. There was nowhere to run, and no time, and they began scooping us up one by one. And then the void outs came, bigger and bigger, until a massive one, or several massive ones, enveloped the whole world, and poof. Just like that. When I told Hartman about it, he likened it to the visions of extinction dooms sufferers tend to experience. It's strange, though. After all, we now have incontrovertible proof that Chiralium is far from a recent addition to our world. Anyway, that's a problem for a different day. The important thing is that I'm cured, and it's all thanks to you. I go back to it. It's a kind of nice thing about this game. You do get thanks for these kind of things. So, Langdon. I went to the beach. Sam. Until you showed up with that blood, I was as good as dead. For the record, this is the guy from the distro centre Northern Mountain, not City. I know it says it at the top, but it feels a long time since I actually got the delivery to this guy, so it feels weird that he's thanking me still. I remember lying on a gurney, a buddy calling my name. I heard him, even though I must have been unconscious. And then I was looking down at myself. Nobody seemed to notice me. And then there was this light that came down from the ceiling. It was bright, so bright. I had to close my eyes, and I could feel it, pulling me in. As I floated up towards it, I heard waves breaking on the shore, and when I opened them, I was by the sea. Alone. I couldn't tell you how long I was there for. It felt like years, but it also felt like I'd only just arrived. And then I heard a voice, so I chased after it. Chased it beneath the waves. All of a sudden, something's got my leg and it's pulling hard. And the next thing I know, I'm awake. And my buddy's yelling, "He's alive! He's alive!" I'd been to the beach and back. What would have happened if I'd stayed? The Spiritualist. The Chiral Network connects people past and present. How are you, Sam? In good health and good spirits, I hope. I have to say, the Chiral Network is quite impressive. Ever since you hooked the shelter up, my life has become much more exciting. I've been able to procure all sorts of goods that I'd never seen before. And I've noticed quite a number of new structures going up nearby as well. Yeah, I bet. I'll admit I'm responsible for half of them. I should also mention that I managed to unearth some old research data that may offer some insight into some of the more unusual phenomena you might have experienced firsthand. I'm sure you have a vivid recollection of your many experiences in the scene. But it turns out that the person wandering around it that you may have identified as yourself may not be you at all, but someone else entirely. You see, while everyone's beach belongs to them and them alone, the seam is an altogether different beast. I've read about people who had near-death experiences that involved the seam. When they came across this someone else there, They found themselves somehow saved by them in the real world. They'd even received care packages and the like in some instances. Essentially, that's the game explaining away the fact that you can find other porters, other players in the seam. You can actually collect cargo in the seam, and when you arrive, the cargo will be waiting there for you. Yeah, nice little connection. Remarkable, you'd agree. You might even say that the Chiral networks bridge the gap between this world and that in more ways than we realised. Now, I still don't know who this someone else actually is. The first that they're in the seam, though, would suggest that it's someone who's died, wouldn't it? Someone from the past. So in essence, the past is intervening to keep the present alive. It's comforting to think that it's not just BTs and other scary stuff that comes over from the other side. Maybe the Chiral network can help us reconnect with more benevolent beings and positive forces from the past as well. If I may, Sam, I don't suppose you could keep an eye out for this mysterious someone from the past the next time you visit the seam, could you? Yeah, I'm going to be dead, but I'm also going to just stop for a little chat with someone. Alright, so we read these at the time with Peter Englert, so there's a little less to deal with. Victor Frank, I dreamt of my brother. So this is from Port Knot City, this is the eastern region. Don't forget there's going to be a bit of mail from over there because I've done stuff over there. So, hey Sam, how's it going? Getting enough sleep? Dreaming good dreams? I hope you are. Even the great deliverer needs his rest. Don't go burning the candle at both ends, okay? I was working the late shift last night, so I've only just woken up myself. I haven't slept that well in a long time. I had a really nice dream too. My brother Igor was in it. Yep, that Igor. The one who got swallowed up by BT. I mean, to be fair, I remember him. You don't need to phrase it that way. He was with the driver who died on the corpse run. They were old pals, see? He had his arm around his shoulder and this big old grin on his face, like he always did when they were together. Yeah, that's a brutal end for the pair of them. Then Igor gave his pal and me a thumbs up, like he was rooting for us or something. Do you ever think of Igor, Sam? I'd like to think he's still thinking of us. Anyway, I guess I'll see you around. Keep up the good work. Yeah, it's interesting bringing up Igor for the fact that if you do go to the eastern section, you know, there are the structures there by him and they don't disappear. I say structures, it's just the ladders, but it's quite interesting as far as, even though it's so early in the game, they make sure that a character like that still remains cemented in the game. It's quite an interesting way of doing it rather than just having the brother recollecting it. You've also got like little things that they laid their territory, if you like, laid a mark. So the Collector, I'm publishing a new magazine with 5 stars here as well. So I'm writing to inform you of the rather exciting development. I've devised a method by which the Chiral network and your consummate abilities as a porter could be combined to usher in a new age for America. What is the one thing we have yet to truly transmit via the network? The trials and tribulations of our friends and saviours, the porters, that's what. Their thoughts, their feelings, their musings, as they walk the lonely road, the grand vistas to which they bear witness. I believe that if humanity were able to share in their incredible experiences, we might stand a better chance of coming together as one. Would you permit me to use you to test this theory of mine? I wish to chronicle your travels so that people can be united in their appreciation of your daily struggles. I might call it keeping up with the couriers. Or perhaps something with Amamura, my family name. Names are hard. That I will agree on. I struggle with names. Thomas S., you're the real deal. Thanks, Sam. Once again, everything excellent work. Allow me to express my gratitude by making graphical... Okay. So essentially, I picked up a companion cube, just raiding a mule camp. I delivered it to this guy. He was happy. I got a gravity gloves for it, which, to be honest, aren't that great. So, yeah, maybe I'm just a little bit meh about it. It says you can use them to collect and carry a whole load of cargo, even if it's pretty spread out. I might give them a go, just for a laugh, but I've not been won over by the idea of them. So, more lost cargo for you. Yeah, basically just another one of these companion cubes, I think, or something along those lines. Make your way to the craftsman shelter and then head west-northwest. You'll come across a ruined factory near the side of the highway. So basically that's on the route to way station north of Mountain Knot City, or to west of Mountain Knot City. So yeah, and the cube should be in there. Once you find it, take it to the distribution centre south of Lake Knot City, where he is. Okay. The veteran porter. You're the reason I'm getting no orders. Yeah, I gotta work on this guy. How goes it, friend? Much obliged for the meds. These aches and pains of mine are more manageable now. Was a mighty fine delivery set up round these parts once upon a time, before it all went to hell in a handbasket. Folks still need stuff, though. This here's hard country. Hard to put down roots and hard to get out when the going gets tough. Used to do what I could for those in need. Make sure they didn't get left to rot. And then damnedest thing, I started seeing fewer and fewer orders. Got to wondering if something was afoot. Turns out it was just little old you taking on the burden right when I was due for a long rest. Thanks, Sam. You're one of the good ones. Mind you, I wasn't half bad myself. Made it all the way to Edgenot City once. Crossed the tar belt and everything. I said that is quite impressive. Weird place with a distro centre smack dab in the middle of downtown. Weird cargo too. Stuff you never see back east or anywhere else for that matter. Long as I'm rambling, you ever hear about, or you ever read about the gold rush? It happened long ago. People heard there was gold out west and started heading there in droves, eager to make their fortune. Well, damnedest thing, but I think I saw some gold myself when I was out that way. Or maybe it was something else. Had that goldish glint about it though. My guess is that's BTs or chiral crystals. Alright, another one from the veteran porter. I've reached my limit. Road treating you alright, Sam? Got to say, you give us porters something to be proud of. Truly, you do. Before I went solo back in the day, I was making runs with this delivery outfit. Wasn't easy living, these parts being unforgiving as they are, but that didn't stop our guys and gals. We had ourselves a damn good leader. Didn't have dooms or nothing, but he had a nose for BTs, which made it an even bigger boot to the gonads when he went over to the demons. Yep, that's right. Higgs is my old boss. You got to understand though, those were crazy times. Guys were losing their minds left and right, going mule. Seemed we had a one-way ticket to somethingville. A few like me went independent, but most couldn't hack it. Got out the game before the game got going. Stubborn old me knuckled down and kept on keeping on, but this life takes its toll. Glad you came along when you did, partner. Yeah, it certainly made an impact on the world before we got here. Alright, the Evo Devo biologist. Will new life rise from the tar? Allow me to thank you again for your assistance, Sam. My tar analysis is ongoing, but I was somewhat surprised to discover that it contained chemical compounds which bore a striking resemblance to D-amino acids. These so-called right-handed acids are rarely found in living organisms on Earth. Left-handed L-amino acids are what one generally expects. However, this sample of tar contained none save the rarer variant. The hypothesis that this tar may function as a medium to summon the past into the present may be incomplete, for it may also give rise to new life comprised of D-amino acids. New life more accustomed to thrive in a post-Stranding world, perhaps. Would its rise coincide with the fall of amino acid-based life such as ours? And just say, this is actually a mouthful to read. I shouldn't have tried to do some weird voice with this, and I don't even know if it's a real voice. All I know at this time is that the Stranding is almost certainly the source of this, and countless other unexplained phenomena. However, what ultimately lies in store for this planet and its inhabitants remains a mystery. I was trying to go for posher voice, like something that, had a higher register than my own, but I may have just accidentally slipped into my own. Alright, the veteran porter. Keep an eye on your leaders. Howdy, Sam. I know you're working your ass off out there, but you'll forgive me if I hesitate just a little to put my faith in another united this or that. I've seen what happens when good leaders go bad, and it ain't pretty. Ain't saying it's inevitable, but if Bridges of the UCA or whatever wound up headed by some asshole drunk on power, where would that leave us? Now, I hear nothing but kind words about President Strand and her kid, but who's to say one or other won't change? Or that whoever comes after will be just as decent? Don't get me wrong, I'm none too fond of things how they are, and I agree folks better off together than apart. It's just, give me a chance to see how things pan out first, okay? Hope you don't think I'm being a pompous old coot, passing judgment from on high. I want to believe, but I've been burned before. If I can get over that, who knows? Maybe I'll just join the good old UC of A after all. I feel like I can do whatever that accent is. I don't know what it is, but I feel like I'm doing it a little. By the way, if I am insulting anyone, please, I am sorry. This is me just trying to have a bit of fun with this. Alright, Charles Khan. Way station north of Mountain Knot City. Subject, hope terrorists haven't got you yet. That's a bit grim. Thanks again, Sam. We're always so stoked to see you drop by. How many times is that now? Can't help worrying you'll have a run-in with our neighbourhood assholes one of these days. You know what makes me sick? The more stuff Iggs pulls, the more his brand of madness seems to spread. It was just mules at first, but these days average porters are getting caught in his orbit. I don't need to tell you about Fragile Express and all that, right? Clearly the guy's stuff is inspiring others. What with other groups aping his methods and regurgitating his rhetoric. A United Nations of assholes trying to turn humanity by the hand and drag it kicking and screaming over a cliff. Ugh. I'm sure you've heard this like a zillion times, but you're our only hope, Sam. Don't let that bar steward beat you. The Mountain Guide. We picked a name. Dear Sam, I thought I should let you know that our son is in good health, which is a relief because I was so nervous giving birth with just the two of us here. But the doc gave me great advice, and in the end, it felt like he was here in the room with us. Again, I don't know what I'm trying here. I'm going to just go to normal. I think I was going beyond possibly insulting to definitely insulting. I also wanted to say that if you hadn't shown up when you did, this baby of ours might not be here. I might not be here. The doc was a huge help, of course. There's no denying we owe so much to the generosity of many people, but it all began with you, which is why we're going to name him Sam. I pray that as he grows older, he'll bring people together just like you. Genuinely curious if it'll say the Mountaineer, the Mountain Guide, Sam. Does it, as said the child? Anyway, the novelist's son, Dreamcatchers, Gores, and Kipus. Mr. Sam Bridges. After a lot of thought, I've decided to join the UCA. I was intrigued to learn that the world is full of talismans. Your Dreamcatcher, Amelie's Kipu, my gourds. I know there are plenty of people who dismiss these traditions as superstition and nonsense, but I've come to believe there must be a reason so many evil warding objects and symbols came to be developed by so many different cultures. Maybe they're all the product of some forgotten shared wisdom. All kinds of intriguing things have been said about gourds in particular. That they symbolise the womb and the universe itself, for instance. They're clearly objects of significance and importance, which is why I can't keep them to myself. I've decided I want to send a gourd-shaped talisman I've designed to carol printers all over the all over the world. Perhaps one day somebody might trap a BT inside of one, like in my dream. Gourds work in mysterious ways, after all. I'm a bit confused about gourds in terms of what they are. I've got gourd from Fallout in my mind, which is like planting. So I'm like, okay, interesting. I get the feeling it's different, but that's what's in my head, so it's hard to shake it right now. Alright, the doctor. The chiral network might push us further apart. The medical terminal has proven to be fit for our purposes. If we could supply one to every prepper shelter out there, our ability to treat the sick and injured would be drastically improved. The problem is, I'm the only one who knows how to operate it at present. We need to develop it further, and perhaps teach AIs how to address patient needs in place of a human. It seems there are no concerns about devices becoming sentient, so AI can be safely utilised to create what one might call the ideal doctor. But I've been wondering, is that really in our best interests? Once people are free to live hundreds of miles apart from one another and civilization, what incentive will they have to meet, to interact, to socialise? The chiral network brings people together and provides safety and convenience, but could it also in time isolate us? I feel like there's a little question about social media. I can follow along with that. I do not wish to disparage you or your tireless efforts to make everyone part of a greater whole, but I suppose what I am saying is that simply forging connections is not enough, and that we have a responsibility to ensure that the world we are building with this network will be truly better than the one we have now. It falls to all of us to make sure that your hard work is worth it in the end. Yeah, I feel like that is hinting about the idea of phones, computers. They've created this way of us all connecting to each other a million miles away, but there are times when, even though we could choose to meet up, we don't. I can see what Idio's maybe trying to highlight there. Alright, the Mountaineer. How's that climbing anchor treating you? Honestly, I'm skipping that. That's just basically nudging me on it. The first prepper. How prepping got started? And for the record, this guy's tough to get started up fast. So, you showed up again. Well, ain't I just the luckiest guy around? Trying to butter me up so I'll share some nuggets of prepper wisdom, I'll wager. Alright. Lesson number 1. Back when my kin first decided shelter life was the only life for them, there was a Cold War on. And that meant there were 2 types of people. Those who wanted to nuke the rest, and those who wanted to nuke those other guys before they could nuke them first. Don't got to tell you that nuclear war means everybody's effed. So my kin got to thinking that maybe they'd be better off digging themselves shelters, so somebody could still be around to rise from the ashes when the big day finally came. And then the idiots in charge came, within a hair's breadth of actually pressing the big red button, and the president himself got shot. And suddenly it seemed the whole world really was fixing to tumble off a cliff. What happened then? More preppers, that's what. More folks seen the writing on the wall and deciding they didn't want to go out with a bang. The way the family legends tell it, before long there was a whole village of guys looking to dig in and sit out the end of the modern world. Sure you don't want to come join us, Sam? Yeah, I'll pass. The roboticist. Are humans all that important? Couldn't stay away, huh? Glutton for punishment, I reckon. Then let me bore you a little more. I told you before about drone syndrome and delivery dependence, right? Turns out there's an interesting little theory both might be reactions to. Against might be a better way of putting it, the possibility of the singularity. Humans didn't want to stop being human, and the Death Stranding, that was mankind's last-ditch attempt to retain its sense of self. We caused it somehow because we couldn't bear the thought of losing our identity. Makes a sort of sense, no? Humans have beaches, humans become BTs, humans cause void outs. It all comes back to us. We die, sure, but at least we die with a bang, not a whimper. Maybe our next step should be to try and make the singularity happen for real. Get rid of us once and for all. I mean, I don't actually think that way. You know I don't. But sometimes I can almost see the logic in it. What's the measure of man? What's the value in fighting tooth and nail to keep him around? Is it ever too much? Can't help wondering. I tell you, I'd hate to die and come back as a BT and stir up trouble. Better to be rid of the flesh, don't you think, Sam? It's an interesting one, that. It's like someone trying to say something that has an interesting question in it, but because you phrase it in a bad way, it sounds really bad. Alright. So we read that one last time about dealing with the porter's body. This is Jay just saying you're a really great deliverer. We'll go on, we'll give this a read. Damn, Sam, you're a real trooper. Another chip in the bag, thanks to you. Shame about that porter, though. He'd still be alive and kicking if he hadn't taken the job. Here's hoping he finds peace in the next life. Because that could have been you had stuff gone on sideways. Or maybe you'd have rolled it with it just fine. I'm guessing they sure don't call you the great deliverer for nothing. We got a few greats back home too. Legends. Chip had all kinds of info on them. But they didn't work for cities or countries. They were slaves for huge corporations. And then some pendejos kicked off a war between the megacorps. A war that dragged everyone and everything into it. Maybe that's how I ended up over here. I don't know. All I've got to go on is a record of memory of a memory. But the V I keep seeing has to be the key to it all. V. I can almost feel the letter, touch it. Maybe the more chips I analyse, the more I'll learn. Anyway, I got something for you. Johnny sunglasses. Same design as a pair worn by one of the rocker boys of the Corpo Wars. Add a little more fun with your compass too. You can now short-circuit enemy ultra decks. Should lay the effort out most of the time, huh? Maybe make it easy for you to complete your great deliveries. And we got another one from Jay. You're not going to believe this, Sam, but that porter I hired? Smart-ass tune found 2 chips, but by the time I nailed down the location of the second, it had been snatched by the homo demons. Yeah, should have figured it out sooner. I thought I'd mastered your systems, you know, took my eye off the ball for a second. Probably brought the chip back to the base already, though. You gotta get back, Sam. These chips are my only chance. Get your ass to the distro center north of Mountain Knot City to grab that order. Alright, George Baton from Waystation West of Capital Knot City sending you likes. Still keeping on, Sam? Me? I've been practicing going outside. Longer and farther each time. I thought I conquered my fears at one point. That I'd be making deliveries like nobody's business before long. That was before I wandered into mule territory for the first time. I panicked and dropped damn near everything I was carrying. Guess it belongs to them now. That little hiccup aside, I've managed to put up a few signs and watchtowers and other stuff I figured guys like you might appreciate. So it's not like it's all bad. I haven't met any other porters face to face yet, but I can tell they're liking what I've done, as in, they've given me likes. Oxy and smart drugs might help to level me out, but I tell you, when someone hits you with that like, it's a feeling like no other. Hit the like button, folks. That confirmation that you've made a positive difference in someone else's life, it's grand, man. Anyway, good luck with everything, sending out the love and likes. The Ludens fan. Ludens are our saviours. It was great seeing you again, Sam. You really are one in a million. Oh, so I started using the Chiral network to look into the history of the whole Ludens thing. I don't have it all figured out yet, but it's clear that it was pretty important. I mean, the game it symbolised was friggin' huge, completely unlike anything that had come before. It exploited man's potential to play in exactly the way Huziniga described when he coined the phrase Homo Ludens. He had this theory that play was older than even culture itself, and was at the heart of what made us who we are. I believe that if we can rediscover the kind of play he was talking about, we can undo the damage caused by chiral contamination and rid the world of Homo Gestalt and Homo Demons once and for all. To think that games could be the key to saving humanity. Again, I feel a little nod wink wink there. Okay, so Jake Wind from the Wind Farm. Rebuilding America and beyond. Dear Sam, it was good of you to come visit us again. It can't be easy doing what you do on the body or mind. Guess that's what makes you a legend, huh? Well, whoever came up with the idea of sending comms via the beach is a legend too, as far as I'm concerned. What kind of person ever even considers something like that? It's like whoever decided to try and tame lightning back in the day, to think someone looked at those violent flashes of electricity and said, I can control it. Create it. And then they did. Maybe the beach is the same sort of phenomenon. Something we can't get our heads around right now, but once we do, once we learn to harness its power, it'll lead to a revolution that changes everything. Imagine if we could not only rebuild America, but make a better world than the one that came before. Benjamin Hancock Distribution Centre, west of Capital Knot City. American Reconstructionism, not just a dream. Dear Sam, thanks yet again. It's getting to the point if it hasn't already, where the words just won't cut it. They broke the mould when they made you, seriously. I've been here since Bridges 1 first came through, and I was damn proud to be assigned this posting. But truth be told, there were times I worried the second expedition would never happen. What if they couldn't get the Cupid to work? What if American Reconstructionism was all a silly pipe dream? Looking back, I can't blame myself for near losing faith. I never saw the real America for myself. But then you came along and gave us something to believe in again. You have to finish it. For all of us. Make us whole again. And finally, the musician. Footsteps, the original musical beat. By the way, I don't know if you noticed, so many of these on the eastern coast, 4 and a bit stars. It's like, oh, I really should have just stuck around and done another couple of deliveries, but I just couldn't keep stalling. How's it hanging, Sammy boy? So, like my parents were musicians and researchers, right? Well, when I was little, my mum taught me something that stuck with me. She said that the first music humans ever had was the sound of footsteps. Tempo, volume, intensity, all that stuff came from cavemen, or whatever, mimicking the sounds their feet made when they walked. Figures, yeah? You know why you can't help but bob your head to the beat when you hear a tune? How like you can imagine all kinds of sights and sounds and your soul just sings? It's all part of it, man. Oh, and that baby you got strapped to your chest? The sound of your footsteps is totally music to the little guy's ears for sure. You gotta whistle and hum and stuff to get him to chill when he's freaking out too, right? There you go. Music. It's totally primal. Walking on 2 legs made us human in the first place, and then our 2 legs go and give us music too. It's pretty sweet when you think about it. And I'll bet it works the other way too. No more music, no more humans. Whoa, that's pretty deep. Alright, mail done. Let's just see memory chips. We've got Honda Rebel 500 and the Thelma original music soundtrack. So the Honda Rebel, a bike name for for the individualistic nature of those who ride it. The 2010s saw a decline in cruiser-style motorcycles, so this new model from Honda was a breath of fresh air, one whose iconoclastic spirit won its legions of fans. Simple, tough and cool, it's a design that would inspire any porter to climb astride it and set off down the newly rebuilt highways of the UCA. I can only assume these are like things Hideo likes. Alright. So soundtrack to the 2017 Norwegian horror movie Thelma is directed by Joachim Trier, a distant relative of Danish genius Lars von Trier. The soundtrack has a distinctively Scandinavian feel. Its melody is dark yet hauntingly beautiful. Thelma, the titular character, is a young woman raised by a strict family. When she falls in love for the first time, a power that had laid dormant within her is unleashed. It's a film that captures the heart, being filled with the beauty, the sadness, and the fear that comes with loving someone, with trying to connect to someone. Thelma is all about what it means to connect, and what it means to sever connections. Okay. Can understand the link there between this and the game. The Yamaha MT-09. A powerful sports bike with an engine based on the so-called cross-plane concept and built around the idea of synchronized performance. The satisfaction of instantly being able to have the bike perform as you wish it to. Roboticists and engineers among the preppers hope to be able to apply the same ideas to develop an all-new chiral network connected delivery machine of their own. Actually, I might be able to craft that, I don't know. Alright, so we've got 3 things there. Ooh, we got one off Die Hardman. Like secret oxytocin 4 years ago. Before the Stranding, the whole world was connected. There were networks, social networks we called them, that people used to communicate all the time. They shared all sorts of stuff through them. A random thought, a pretty picture, a home movie, you name it. By the way, I do remember that when Facebook first came out, it was like, blah blah is feeling happy. Blah blah wants food. You know, like it was just literally thoughts, and then it all expanded to whatever it did. Sorry, it just took me back seeing that. And if you like something that someone else had uploaded, you'd let them know by giving them, well, a like. Sounds weird, I know, but that's the truth. Eventually, someone ran tests on the users of these networks and discovered that receiving a like triggered a rush of oxytocin. The theory was that it stemmed from a sense of being acknowledged. Even though you couldn't see the person you were interacting with, it still felt like they were accepting you, praising you. And who wouldn't like that? But that same process is at the heart of the mule phenomenon. It's believed that an overdependence on the oxytocin rush provided by these kinds of interactions is a factor in porters going rogue. With this in mind, it wouldn't be wrong to characterise mules as oxytocin addicts. In essence, they're social animals at the mercy of validation. I've got this image of like social influencers like TikTokers and all that suddenly becoming mules. I think that's an interesting visual parallel. Okay. BB echolation from Dead Man 1 year ago. Dolphins use a sensory mechanism known as echolocation, to keep track of both their phalopod members and any potential prey. As the name suggests, they produce sounds which bounce off objects and return as echoes, allowing them to get an idea of their surroundings. Interesting in and of itself, of course, but what I find more interesting is the recent research suggesting that BBs use a similar method to detect BTs. As you know, BB pods are designed to mimic the conditions inside a human womb, and are key to preserving the BB's connections with this world and the next. While recent research now suggests that BBs are capable of producing something not unlike a dolphin's sound waves. These pulses travel through the amniotic fluid and out the other side, bounce off BTs and return as echoes, allowing a BB to ascertain the location of threats. Pretty cool, right? I think I'd prefer that more if BBs actually detected things while you move, but because you have to stand still, it feels like BB doesn't make that much noise when you're just standing, or as much as moving, so it's like, Alright, Hartman, I'll be surprised if you haven't got one here. You got 3. Neanderthals are not extinct. Both Neanderthals and Homo sapiens are believed to share a common ancestor in the form of Homo heidelbergensis. But there are clear differences between the two. I forgot to say this 3 years ago. Neanderthals were brutish and brawny, well equipped to hunt larger animals and survive in colder climates, whereas Homo sapiens were slender-limbed and only capable of hunting smaller prey. But as millennia passed, Homo sapiens learned to create tools and hunt in packs. The Neanderthals, who actually had larger brains than the Homo sapiens, also fashioned tools of their own, but these were crude in comparison and developed little over 200,000 years. Perhaps because these simple-minded beings favoured small family units, so that even if a breakthrough occurred, it was unlikely to be shared with others. This isolation, more than any other factor, seems to have led to their decline. Homo sapiens, meanwhile, conceived religion, with which large numbers of individuals could be bound together in service to a common cause. Strength in numbers also made their communities more resistant to famine and other calamities. In other words, Homo sapiens grew stronger through interpersonal connections, by creating what came to be called society. If we persist in our divided state, we risk losing this hard-won unity and dooming ourselves to the Neanderthals' fate. We will dwindle and die apart and alone, but history holds another intriguing lesson. Homo sapiens did not disdain Neanderthals. The two species even intermingled on occasion. Our DNA retains vestiges of our ancient cousins even now. So you see, while the species itself may disappear, its genetic legacy may yet endure. Okay, so well, I get the idea, not extinct, but they aren't prevalent because essentially they only exist as part of our DNA. Okay. So, Hartman's theory of evolution 1 year ago. The evolution of life on Earth could be described as the evolution of consciousness. When the first vertebrates clambered out of the oceans and onto the land, their consciousness expanded to process the new realm that lay before them. But their development did not end there. Their eyes moved from their flanks to their fronts, that they might comprehend the depth of the world. Mammals formed groups, increasing their chances of survival. Eventually they came together in communities, and then larger societies. In order to preserve and maintain these structures, humans developed a perception of time. And in order for societies to outlast the lifespan of the individual, we conceived of an afterlife and a future beyond ourselves. Alas, the Death Stranding threatens to undo all our progress. Consider the chiral network, which incorporates the beach, where time does not exist. Or consider timefall, which rapidly accelerates the degradation of that which comes into contact with. How can our sense of time, honed over millions of years, remain intact when we must cope with such irrational phenomena? Yet that is but the tip of the proverbial iceberg. We are growing apart, retreating into isolation, gradually losing our place within society. I would even go so far as to say our conceptions of reality are under threat. How could they not be, when our very eyes deny the invisible BT that stands before us? The Stranding has warped our consciousness, in every sense. If the evolution of life on Earth is indeed akin to the evolution of consciousness, then what is happening now is undeniably a regression, is it not? There is one caveat, of course. Some of us now are far more aware of death than we ever were. That is what Dooms has given us. For me, therefore, Dooms is not merely a biological change. I prefer to think of it as a means by which I have achieved a new form of consciousness. Furthermore, I hope and believe that this new awareness of the other side is humanity's trump card as we seek to defeat the Death Stranding. Okay, well, I admit that's one I probably need to read again. Probably when I'm editing this, I'll have another listen to what I'm saying. But that one, I'm going to be honest, that one's over my head just a teeny bit. Alright, umbilical cords in Devonian era fossils. 3 months ago. An article from an old scientific journal was recently brought to my attention. It predates the Death Stranding and concerns the discovery of a 380 million year old fossil, one from the Devonian era, to give the period its proper name. It was a fossil of a fish, and in its womb was a child connected to its mother by an umbilical cord, no less. The species? Matapiscus attenborough. If that isn't genuine, I am going to call that the name checking David Attenborough there. David Attenborough. Anyway, masterpiece David Attenborough. Okay, sorry, that just amused me if that is the thing. It's a placoderm, an extinct class of armoured marine creatures that used to live in the seas the world over. Unfortunately, most were wiped out during the Devonian era. Again, I don't know if I'm saying that right. Devonian sounds right. Right around the time of the second of the Big Five, in fact. As you may be aware, one of the key foci of my research is the link between creatures with umbilical cords and mass extinctions. It is my hope that we'll be able to piece together more data that will help us learn more about the link between umbilical cords and the Death Stranding. There are times when I read Hartman's stuff and I think, all right, could you just not use as many complicated words? I like to think I can say a fair number of things, but there's a few that I'm going, all right, what the heck is that? All right, 3 years ago, repatriates and void outs. I've come across a number of old reports which make mention of humans with certain powers which have led to them becoming known as repatriates. As we know, when a human and a BT come into contact, a void out results, which is analogous to what physicists would term an annihilation event. These events occur when matter meets antimatter, and mass is converted violently and abruptly into energy. The process is highly efficient, though some energy is lost to the production of neutrinos. Similarly, in a void out, vast amounts of energy are released, resulting in destruction on a devastating scale, which leaves behind a large crater. Void outs triggered by contact with repatriates, however, consistently result in smaller craters. It is suspected that this is because energy is lost to the beach in the same manner that is lost to neutrino production in a conventional annihilation event, and that in the case of repatriates, the amount of energy lost is particularly high. That said, how the repatriate's body survives intact is a far bigger mystery, and one on which I refrain from commenting until I have had the chance to examine one in the flesh. One notable repatriate is Sam Strand, a former member of Bridges, one who left some years ago and has been making his way in the world as a porter ever since. I do hope I could get to meet him someday, considering how invaluable it could be in advancing our understanding of the true nature of beaches and the Death Stranding. Yeah, so Hartman's wanted to meet Sam for a long time. Alright, this is all looking promising as far as we're now down to Bridges' staff. Interview with a paleontologist 1 year ago. In the period since the very first forms of life arose here on the Earth, the planet has witnessed a number of mass extinctions, and as you're no doubt aware, the most significant of these are known as the Big Five. The first marked the end of the Ordovician period, while the next and the end of the Devonian period wiped out almost all marine life. But the third of these extinction, at the end of the Permian period, around 250 million years ago, was even worse. 96% of all marine organisms and 70% of land organisms died as a result. The fourth extinction finished off most large reptiles, though the dinosaurs managed to hold on until the fifth came along at the end of the Cretaceous period, 65 million years ago. We humans are evolved from the small mammals which managed to survive that particular catastrophe. Each of these 5 extinctions resulted from enormous changes to the natural environment. Species which were unable to adapt to these changes perished, while those which were ideally situated to evolve and thrive did just that. Evidence from records which predate the Death Stranding indicate that many scholars believe a 6th mass extinction was on its way, or that it may have already begun. There was something of a consensus regarding its cause as well: humanity's destruction of the environment. This led them to sound the alarm, warning the world of what was at stake. At the time, the greatest minds of the era believed that if the ecosystem could be preserved, and if humanity could learn to live in harmony with nature, then a future could be secured for all the world's species, humans included. But that was then, and this is now. If the phenomenon we are currently experiencing is indeed the 6th extinction, then it must be acknowledged that humanity is its main target. Is this divine punishment for our misdeeds? If so, then I suppose there is little that can be done. Perhaps there is no way forward for humanity now. Nevertheless, I refuse to give up. I will endeavour to find hope in our predicament. Interview with the Evo biologist from 1 year ago. I was born after the Death Stranding, so my conception of what the world once was is derived entirely from documents, photographs and video. We didn't used to have timefall for one, just regular rain. No chiral clouds, only the traditional masses of suspended moisture. and one certainly didn't have to worry about tar bubbling up from underground in most locales. Humans could travel anywhere, even into space, and we were blissfully unaware of the beach's existence. Suffice it to say, there is no doubt that this is a period of sweeping change that will have lasting repercussions for all life on Earth. Given that, dooms may simply be humanity's way of trying to adapt and survive. A beach exists within the consciousness of every individual, but these environmental changes, they affect all life on a genetic level, do they not? That is why I thought to investigate them, and the medium through which I chose to do so is the tar, which has become so ubiquitous. But you're not interested in that, I am sure. So there's a very real possibility that we have already failed to adapt to the sixth extinction. That we are but another evolutionary dead end, soon to be left behind. If that is the case, then it could be reasoned that the ones afflicted with dooms, and therefore blessed with an enhanced perception of the beach, are our successors, who will survive and supplant us. I suppose that would be a shame, but it doesn't trouble me all that much. My research will survive me as well, and the doomed sufferers can pick up from where I left off. They will carry on my genetic lineage too, for that matter. No, what worries me is not that even dooms will prove sufficient to endure this extinction. If that is the case, then humanity is doomed. It's certainly a possibility we have to acknowledge. But more than that, one question looms above all. Why? Why now? Why like this? That's what I want to know more than anything. Somehow I doubt the dinosaurs and all the other species that came and went ever considered that question. Worrying over the reason for this and that is a uniquely human condition, I suppose. Yet this idle curiosity may be the key to understanding and overcoming the stranding. Yeah, I can understand that. The idea of the why is more important in a lot of situations, I find. Alright, Aaron Hill from Mountain Knot City. Tar bubbles up from the beach. 1 year ago. I'd heard this area was pretty inhospitable before I got here. Got your fair share of mountains, obviously, and on top of that were all these rumours about a secret terrorist base or something. So I figured I was in for a bad time. But when me and the team got here, yeah, it was way worse than we all thought. Felt like we'd get jumped at any second. I tell you what though, I couldn't believe my eyes when I saw all that tar out west. Wondered how the hell Emily and her team made it through. But someone said it wasn't nearly as bad when they made the trip. I was sent out to take a close look, and man, it was something else. And it hadn't been that long either. Hard to imagine all that bubbled up damn near overnight. Honestly, I felt like I was standing at the edge of the world. We don't know much about the tar, except that it wasn't around before the stranding, same as Timefall and Corallium. There's some speculation that it might be some byproduct of the beach, and that if you could somehow retrace the flow, you'd end up there. Well, that's all theoretical stuff. Right now we've got a practical problem to deal with. One of the coral relays we built is at risk of going under any moment. We don't have the manpower to relocate it yet, but we should once the second expedition shows up. Whether we can wait that long is another question though. Maybe you could tell them to get their asses in gear, if you get the chance. Corallium coatings from George Baton 2 years ago, way station west of Capital Knot City. Truth is, we discovered it by dumb luck. Folks have made a point of building cities outside of Timefall regions, but the way stations and the distro centres were a different story. No way around it really, even though all that exposure meant they'd deteriorate quicker. But when you're keeping an eye out for things deteriorating, you soon notice how corallium crystals react when exposed to timefall, which is to say, not at all. They showed no signs of degradation whatsoever, stayed rock solid, even after getting soaked. It sort of made sense. Corallium comes from the beach, right? And over there, time doesn't pass. Timefall had no effect on the crystals because they may as well exist outside of time. And when we ran a few experiments, that's pretty much what we confirmed. Now, I know what you're thinking. Why not build way stations out of corallium, right? Yeah, if only. Turns out overexposure to that stuff is lethal, and it can't be stored in large quantities either. Still, at least the corallium coatings we came up with do just enough to keep the rock manageable. That's something. So for those of you who might have been watching me play this and thinking, hang on, how are these buildings not falling apart? There's the answer. Oxytocin from Victor 2.5 years ago. Back before the stranding, people didn't really rely on smart drugs like oxytocin so much, probably because they weren't so damn isolated. Me and my brother Igor, we got separated from our folks after the first void out. This stuff was crazy. I was just a kid, but he was even younger. Too young to have to go through all that. Spending night after night holed up in those ruins. It was rough. But we had each other. Held each other close to stay warm, and it made things better. Docs are tired that Oxy's doing its thing. The hormone the body releases when we touch each other. It's why mothers form bonds with their kids when they hold them and other stuff like that. But when the comms network's not what they were, it's more dangerous than ever to go outside. And even when you got other people around, they don't seem too keen to make physical contact. A collective aversion due to an ingrained fear of BTs and void outs, or so I've been told. Add it all up and you've got yourself a people that's isolated, scattered, stressed out and insecure. So we've got no choice but to supplement our oxy levels. Fill the void left by physical affection with chemical TLC. Pretty messed up, am I right? I know we used to go to war over race and religion and all that back in the day. But that had to be better than living like this. You know, I'm not too sure about that. Just based on playing the game and the world that we are seeing, I wouldn't say what we have in the real world is better than this as far as, obviously the BTs and all that suck. I'm talking about the actual human interactions. That probably is better. I don't know. Maybe I'm just missing the point there. Anyway, Dooms and the Zodiac from an astrologer 5 years ago in an office in central Knot City. Astrologers like me are used to having work dismissed, incorrectly of course, as unscientific mumbo-jumbo, but since the Death Stranding, more and more people have started to take an interest in what's known as astropsychology, a discipline that combines astrology with various forms of psychology. The fact that each person has a beach to which they are spiritually connected has doubtless contributed to this trend. These days there are even psychotherapists who use astrological techniques in their counselling sessions. Perhaps the most interesting recent development of all, however, is the discovery that the alignment of celestial bodies at the moment of one's birth can influence one's relationship with the condition known as dooms. Of course, Carolina the Earth's atmosphere in the Earth's atmosphere means that it's difficult, dare I say impossible, to actually observe the constellations at any point. To come to the conclusion that they therefore have no effect upon human lives, however, would be a foolish error indeed. I can buy that. I mean, this world especially is weirder stuff than astrology. Alright, we're all done. We're all done. I said it was going to be a long one, but geez Louise, 50 minutes I think that took. Alright, so we're heading out. And we're not going to do a mission in this part, but I'm at least going to set up the mission. I don't think I've got anything on me here either. Let me just check here. I might have dumped some stuff in here just to help out later. Okay, we've got that. Put it on the boot clip. I think I've got boots on me. Yeah. We'll take the blood bags. Maybe I've got some stuff at Hartman's. I don't know. Either way, that's enough. That'll do me for what I need. Here it is. I'm pretty sure this was at the facility. So yeah, I feel like I've prepped for the end of the game well. It's like I say, it's one of them situations where you want to make sure you do things so that when the end of the game comes, you don't feel like you're still wanting to do side quests. And I'd say once you've finished this next mission, we're in the end game. It's not that the story ends. I'd say there's quite a bit to go, but as far as you're on the main plot and you don't want to deviate too much. That's how I feel anyway. I feel like you want to just keep on with it. Okay, so private locker. Did I dump anything here? Thermal pads, we'll take them. And we've got all-terrain skeleton. I think I might be wearing one. Oh, no, I've got a speed skeleton, so we'll take that. Sticky gun here. Alright, so let's put these on quickly. Attach the suit. I really wish they kind of auto-equipped as far as there was like a logical thing. Like, oh yeah, thermal pads, let's put them on the suit. Equip that as the active skeleton. Go on, you can have them holding. Alright, take on orders. Orders for Sam. The Carol Relay. Carry weight 150 grams. So we'll select it. Equipment we'll need. Well, this is a rare instance where I'm going to take a ladder with me. I don't think I need it, but just on the off chance it could be handy. Now, it's annoying because I don't think I'm going to use the PCCs. I just don't think I'll need them. I'm carrying cargo, so I will take some container repair spray. We've got boots on us, so I don't think we'll need them. We've got skeletons. I think I might need armor plates, so I'm going to craft 4 of them just in case. I don't think I'll need an oxygen mask, so we'll leave that. We are going to need assault rifles. I'll take a shotgun or 2 shotguns as well. Oh, hang on. Let's correct that, otherwise I'm going to end up killing someone. There we go, 2 riot shotguns. I would like... Ooh, do we want grenade launchers? We'll skip that for now. I don't think we want grenade launchers yet. I don't think we need a matic here. I think a matic can wait until... Yeah, I think we should be fine without a matic. Stun bomb. Let's just take 1 of them. And yeah, we've got a floating carrier. So cool, craft all that. Now, I'm going to offload these. Alright, hang that on the tool rack. I think that'll just make sense there. Container repair spray, go on, put it in that. Armor plate, you know what? I'm going to say put it on the back as well. Same that. There's a lot of duh in that, but I'm like, let's just see what we're doing. So, I wouldn't mind putting all these on there. Okay. We've got power gloves, no damage. Got blood bags. Only 1 grenade. A little bit dicey, that. Got armor plates, which I think we're going to need at some point. But the rest I feel okay with. I really wish I could just sort of move things around. Like, I wish I could just move it, but that'll do.
Order assigned.
All right, Sam, just sit down, Sam. So, we're going to leave this part here. I mean, this has been recording for an hour. So yeah, sorry for the long part, folks, but I knew there was going to be a lot of dumping there as far as lore. So we've got the order set for the next episode. As soon as we start, we'll get into it. So I'll see you there. Bye for now, everyone.